This show is brought to you by Ridley College.
Welcome back to Christian Imaginations. We're halfway through Canto 1 in Dante's Divine Comedy. And the question here is, what do you do when you had hope for getting out of trouble and that hope has been dashed? What do you do when your hopes have been dashed again and again and again, and you yourself don't have the resources to get out of trouble? Well, Dante deals with that issue here halfway through the canto. Dante wants to escape this dark forest in which he's bewildered and lost and fearful, a forest that he can't get out of. It's a valley. He wants to get to the city of God, where the way, the truth, and the life is. But he's been assaulted. He's been assaulted by the leopard, the temptations of sexual pleasure. He's been assaulted by the lion, the temptation of pride and to do things his way. And he's also been assaulted by the she-wolf, the great devourer who is ambition herself. And he's had to run away from these three temptations. And he's running down a hill, further and further into the darkness, into the valley. What's going to happen to Dante? While I rushed headlong to the lower slopes, before my eyes, a man offered himself, one who, for a long silence, seemed to be hoarse. When I saw that fellow in the great desert, I cried out to him, "Have pity on me, whatever you are, shadow or definite man." And he replied, "Not a man, though I was one, and my parents were people of Lombardy. Manutans, both of them, they were born and bred there. I was born sub Julio, although it was late, and I lived in Rome under the good Augustus, in the time of the gods who were false and told lies." Dante has met a guide, somebody who may help him out of this place. However, the guide is not in the city of God. He's stuck here. What's going on? Well, Dante has some ideas about who this man might be. He says, "Are you indeed that Virgil? Are you the spring which spreads abroad the wide water of speech?" When I had spoken, I bowed my head with shame. Dante has just met Virgil, and Virgil in this poem symbolizes reason, the capacity to think, to articulate, even in the forms of poetry. Virgil symbolizes civilization and culture. Virgil's the great poet that everybody bounces off. And Virgil also symbolizes a certain way of being, virtues. These are all things that Dante senses that he himself has lost and the culture around him has lost. So Dante is going to be led by Virgil for the first part of our journey. And he needs to be led by Virgil, and this will become clear very soon. Dante says, "You are the honour and light of other poets. My long study and great love give me strength now, as they made me pore over your book." Dante sees somebody whose life was a life worth living, even though they were born under pagan gods. And Dante says, "You are my master and indeed my author. It is from you alone that I've taken the exact style for which I have been honoured. Look at the animal which made me turn back. Help me to handle her. You are famous for wisdom, for she shakes my veins and my pulse shudders." Dante sees that Virgil was not somebody who was corrupted by ambition. Though he was great, he was wise. So Dante says, "Lead me by your example. Help me follow your way." And here's the resolution. Virgil says to him, "You will have to go another way than this." "He saw that I was weeping," writes Dante. Virgil tells him there's another way to go, and Dante is weeping at this point. Then Virgil says, If you want to get away from this wild place, from that beast which has made you so call out, it does not allow others to pass her way, but holds them up and in the end destroys them. And by its nature is so wayward and perverted that she never satisfies her willful desires, but after a meal is hungrier than before. Virgil is saying to Dante, you cannot take on this sin by your own. That's why Dante needs a guide. This she-wolf will overcome you and you will be merely another meal for her. There is another way, says Virgil. The course I think would be best for you, says Virgil, is to follow me, and I will act as your guide and show you a way out of here by a place in eternity. There you will hear the shrieks of men without hope, and you will see the ancient spirits in such pain that every one of them calls out for a second death. Virgil is going to guide Dante out of the darkness of his forest, not immediately to a great place, but through a place which will function as a warning to Dante, to tell him how horrible, how damaging, how painful sin and its consequences are. It's by escaping these things, Virgil is saying, that you will find your way back to the path. And then you will see those who, though in the fire, are happy because they hope, and they will become, whatever it may be, to join the blessed, among whom you may climb, but if you do, it will be with a spirit more worthy than I am. With her I will leave you when I depart. So Virgil is saying, I'm going to guide you only through a certain portion of your journey. Another guide is going to come. It's a woman. She is more worthy than I am, says Virgil. So Virgil is saying, despite the fact that he is reason, civilization, and virtue, that is not a sufficient guide. He can tell you what to avoid from those three perspectives, but there is a deeper one, a one who is more worthy than him, who will be the final guide. Well, the final guide where? Because the emperor, God, who reigns up there. Oh, I see. Virgil is telling Dante that he will be a partial guide, but a better, more worthy guide, a woman, will come along to guide Dante to the city where the emperor is, where God is. And I said to him, poet, now by that God who is unknown to you, I ask your assistance. Help me to escape this evil and worse. Lead me now, as you have promised to do, so that I may come to see St. Peter's gate, that those whom you represent as being so sad. Then he moved forward, and I kept behind him. Dante has resolved to follow Virgil. Dante has decided to follow Virgil not so that he may attain wisdom, in that it's reason, civilization, and virtue. No. Dante wants to go to the city where God is the emperor, to St. Peter's gate. Dante knows that Virgil is a partial guide out of this place. And that's what Dante wants the reader to do. This is where Dante's Divine Comedy impels each reader, me and you, to do and to take a decision, to make a resolution that we will follow a guide out of the deep despair in which we find ourselves. I wonder what are the beasts that are assault you. I wonder how many times you've had to run down the slope, away from the trials, the temptations, and the opposition that you face. It's really hard to pick yourself up when you've found yourself running down the slope time and time again. But God brings guides into our lives, and they may be just partial guides, and they may lead just halfway. But each guide is valuable if you orient yourself towards the city of God and you take the hand of each guide that's offered to you. Dante resolved to do this. Will you resolve to find guides for your life so that you can make it to the city of God?